In Brussels, under grey skies and surrounded by the familiar maze of flags outside the European Council headquarters, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky stepped onto the press podium beside European Council President Antonio Costa. The setting was formal but charged with urgency. As cameras clicked and reporters leaned forward, Zelensky's tone carried both gratitude and insistence, a clear message to his Western partners. The sanctions against Russia must not only continue, but must deepen. He began by acknowledging what has been a cornerstone of Ukraine's diplomatic survival, the coordinated sanctions imposed by both the United States and the European Union. The 19th package is very important and from the European leaders of the EU, but American sanctions are also very important, Zelensky declared. This is a good signal to other countries in the world to join the sanctions. His words reflected not just diplomatic praise, but strategic relief. For Kyiv, each new round of sanctions represents more than just economic measures. It is a line of defense. The sanctions, particularly those targeting Russia's oil, gas and energy transport sectors, have become a central weapon in a war that extends far beyond the battlefield. Zelensky's tone was firm, his phrasing deliberate. He was sending a message not just to the EU and Washington, but to the undecided capitals across Asia, Africa and Latin America that have yet to align against Moscow. Behind him, Antonio Costa nodded as the Ukrainian leader spoke. The Portuguese statesman, now heading the European Council, has emerged as one of the EU's pragmatic voices, balancing calls for unity with the growing fatigue among member states struggling under economic pressure. Yet on this stage, there was no ambiguity. Costa's reply came with conviction. The most important is the political decision and the clear message that we are sending to Russia. They cannot believe that we are tired. We are not tired, he said, and we are eager to continue to support Ukraine diplomatically, politically, militarily, and financially. That phrasing, "we are not tired," was pointed. Across Europe, public opinion has begun to fray. Inflation, energy costs, and election pressures in countries like Slovakia, Hungary, and Italy have tested the EU's unity. Zelensky's visit, therefore, came at a critical juncture, a reminder to European leaders that Ukraine's fight is as much their geopolitical battle as it is Kyiv's survival struggle. Inside the marble halls of the Council, diplomats whispered about the broader stakes of the day. On the agenda, a new tranche of funding for Ukraine's defense and the potential unfreezing of billions in Russian assets held in European banks. Those assets, estimated at over 200 billion euros, have become a legal and political battleground. Some leaders argue they should be channeled directly into Ukraine's reconstruction. Others caution that such a move could provoke legal retaliation and weaken confidence in Europe's financial system. As the press conference continued, Zelensky shifted from gratitude to principle. His next words cut through the diplomatic routine with clarity. "We are ready to support any kind of negotiations, I mean format, but the meanings of negotiations are very important," he said. "We need fair discussion. We need lasting peace. This is very important for our nation." Those sentences revealed a reality Kyiv has wrestled with for months, the pressure to negotiate even as missiles continue to fall. While international voices, including some in Washington and Berlin, have quietly pushed for dialogue, Zelensky has remained steadfast that peace cannot come at the cost of justice. His call for a fair discussion was a reminder that Ukraine's war is not simply territorial, it is moral. Around them, the summit itself was unfolding with layered diplomacy. The US delegation, though not present in person, had sent signals through back channels that Washington's latest sanctions against Russia's energy sector were designed to align closely with Brussels. President Donald Trump, in remarks earlier that week, described the new US sanctions as a very big day for his administration's policy toward Moscow. The package struck directly at Rosneft and Lukoil, two of Russia's most powerful energy conglomerates, marking the first time since early 2024 that the US had expanded restrictions on the oil trade. European officials welcomed the coordination, noting that unity across the Atlantic remained critical. For Zelensky, this was the synchronization he had long pushed for, a transatlantic wall of pressure designed to squeeze Moscow's ability to finance its war. Behind the scenes, aides described his private meetings as focused on urging speed, faster sanctions enforcement, quicker delivery of military aid, and a clear timeline for asset transfers. The symbolism of standing beside Antonio Costa was also deliberate. Costa, who took over as European Council President earlier in 2025, represents a new phase of EU leadership following Charles Michel's tenure. His emphasis on strategic patience and financial consistency has given Kyiv renewed hope that Europe's support will not waver, even amid domestic political storms. Throughout the day, reporters noted the body language between the two leaders, the steady nods, the quick eye contact, subtle signs of an alliance built not just on necessity, but on shared conviction. As they moved away from the podium, Zelensky paused briefly, acknowledging the journalists who had followed his every trip since the invasion began. His voice softened as he spoke about Ukraine's endurance. "It is a long road," he said off camera, "but we are not walking alone." The broader context of the Brussels summit made that sentiment even more significant. The European Council meeting was expected to finalise a €50 billion package for Ukraine's defence and reconstruction through 2027, a fund that has faced months of debate due to disagreements among member states about how to finance it. Yet, despite the disputes, the summit appeared ready to reaffirm its commitment. Analysts in Brussels described Zelensky's visit as a mood reset. With Trump's unpredictable tone from Washington shifting from conciliatory one week to hardline the next, European leaders were desperate for clarity. Zelensky's remarks gave them just that, reassurance that Kyiv remained firm, focused, and determined to win both on the battlefield and at the negotiating table. Meanwhile, the echo of his phrase, "very important," became the unofficial tagline of the day. It captured the essence of what this moment represented, the importance of persistence, of sanctions, of diplomacy, of unity. The words may have been simple, but the weight behind them was immense. For the people of Ukraine, the significance of such meetings often translates into tangible effects: continued weapon deliveries, aid convoys, or power grid repairs before another winter sets in. For European citizens, it is a reminder of how interlinked their economies and security have become with the fate of a country once considered distant. As the summit drew to a close, Antonio Costa summarized the collective stance with characteristic clarity. He reminded the gathered press that this was not just about Russia or Ukraine, but about the credibility of Europe's own principles. "Our message must remain clear," he told one reporter privately. "Aggression cannot be rewarded. Fatigue cannot replace duty." By evening, the corridors of the European Council had emptied, but the narrative from Brussels had already travelled far beyond its walls. Ukrainian networks broadcast Zelensky's soundbites on a loop. European outlets dissected Costa's remarks about political endurance. In Washington, analysts debated how Trump's latest sanctions would impact oil markets and whether Europe would mirror the intensity. For Zelensky, however, the goal was met: a renewed pledge of solidarity and a reaffirmation that Europe, despite its internal challenges, still stood firmly on Ukraine's side. As he left the podium, his team knew the next summit would bring new battles over budgets, timelines, and promises. But for now, in Brussels, his message had landed. The war grinds on, the front lines remain volatile, and yet diplomacy, fragile as it may be, continues to hold. In the words of the Ukrainian president, "We need lasting peace." This is very important for our nation. His closing remark, understated but resolute, summed up the spirit of the day: endurance without surrender, gratitude without complacency, and hope sustained through unity. In Brussels, under the watch of the blue and gold flags of both Europe and Ukraine, the alliance between Kyiv and the West was once again reaffirmed, not with grand declarations, but with firm, deliberate words that carried the weight of a nation's struggle and the world's responsibility to stand behind it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dear Volodymyr, welcome to your house, and I think we will have a very good European Council.
Not only energy, we need shadow fleet, etc., and continue until Putin will stop this war. So,
Costa, do you actually mean what you say?
I would like to ask you on sanctions. You said you're really happy about the sanctions, 19 sanction package, but also on
To continue their fight for a just and lasting peace. And Russia should understand this.
Can Ukraine survive without that money?
Sanctions on Russia. 19th package is very important, and of European leaders, of EU, but American sanctions are also very important. And this is a good signal to other countries in the world to join the sanctions. You know that not only ceasefire, we are ready to support any kind of negotiations, I mean format. But meanings of negotiations are very important. We need fair discussion. We need lasting peace. This is very important for our nation. Thank you so much.
But the most important is the political decision and the clear message that we are sending to Russia. They don't care, they cannot believe that we are tired. We are not tired. And we are here to continue to support Ukraine diplomatically, politically, militarily, and financially. And this is the